Hello students, let us talk about combining vectors and vector algebra. Let us take this red vector that is moving to the left. Let us to the right, Let us take this black vector that is just moving diagonally. And now we want to do the resultant vector. How do you do a resultant in this case? You can see that your vectors, we can say that they are following each other. Let us take the same red vector and put it next to this one in another scenario, and take the same black vector but arrange it in a different way. Do you realize that we've used the same vectors here? The red vector, the black vector, it is moving with the same direction, it is moving with the same size, the same magnitude. So they are the same vectors practically. So now, the difference between these two diagrams here is that in the first case, we've got vectors in a sequence. The other case, we've got vectors acting concurrently on an object. When you say that your vectors are in a sequence, the word sequence just means that they are following each other. In a sense, you can see that here we have got the red vector here. It starts, this is the red vector, it starts here. And then the black vector follows it. The black vector follows it. So we can say that the vectors are following each other, or they are in a sequence, because you can see that where the first vector ends, the next vector continues. So that's why we say that they are following each other, or you can say that they are in a sequence. So now to resolve the resultant vector, if we have got vectors in a sequence, we apply what we call the triangle law. So in the triangle law, basically, it is otherwise known as a tail to head method. So the tail to head method, or the triangle law, it is the one that you use to resolve vectors that are following each other. In this sense, you can see that your vectors are following each other, they are in a sequence. So to apply the triangle law, you have to move from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector. So from the tail of the first vector, look at this red vector, that is the first vector. So you move from its tail, you move from the tail of this first vector, and then you move to the head of the last vector. In this case, this is the second vector and the last vector. So this is the head. So this is the what? This is the head of the last vector. So to draw your resultant there, your resultant here will have to move from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector. So if we say that this is vector A, if we say the red vector is given by vector A and the black vector given by vector B, then the resultant will be A plus B. The resultant will be A plus B. So basically, this is known as a triangle law, or it is known as a tail to head method, whereby you have to move from the tail of the first vector to go to the head of the last vector, the one that comes out last. In this case, you apply this only if the vectors are in a sequence. If the vectors are acting concurrently on an object, we apply the parallelogram law, or the parallelogram method. So basically, when you say that vectors are acting concurrently, it means that they are starting at the same point, or you can say that their tails are in the same position. You can see that here we've got this black vector and this red vector. So now you can see that the tail of this black vector, it is found at this point. This is the tail of the black vector. And if we try to identify the tail of the red vector, it is also at the same position. The tail of the red vector is also at the same position. So you can see that these vectors are at the same point, or you can say that they are acting concurrently on an object. This will apply further if we talk about forces. So to apply the parallelogram law, or the parallelogram method, what do you have to do? You have to draw here. At the end of this red vector, you have to draw a dotted line that is parallel to the black vector. So this dotted line, you can see that it is parallel to this black vector, and you have to draw also here at the end of this black arrow, or at the end of this black vector, you have to draw a vector, or a line, a dotted line in this case, that is parallel to the red one. So here we draw a dotted line that is parallel to the red one. Okay, so now when these two meet, you're just going to put a dot where these two meet. You put a dot. So your resultant vector, basically, it moves from the tail, both the tails, you can see that both the tails are at the same point. It moves from the tail of both the vectors and goes to this dot where these two dotted line meets. So this is known as a parallelogram method. You basically draw a box. You can see that this is a box shape. So this is your resultant. Remember, we can say that this is a vector B, and we can say that this is a vector A. So the resultant then, if we are looking at it from that side, we can say that this is B plus A. But if we are looking at it from this side, we can say this is A plus B. But this is the same thing if you're adding. You can see that here in both scenarios whereby we use the tail to head method and the parallelogram law, we have used the same vectors. We have used the what? The same vectors. Hence, we get the same resultant. If you look at this resultant A plus B here, and you look at this resultant A plus B here, it is the same resultant because we've used the same vectors. It is just that the arrangement of the vectors are not the same, is not the same. You can see that in the first case, the vectors are in a sequence, they are following each other. In the second case, the vectors are acting concurrently, or they are starting at the same point. So you apply two different techniques, but your resultant is practically going to be the same thing. It is because you've used the same vectors in this particular case. So one thing to bear in mind on this parallelogram method, the dotted line that you have plotted here on this side, it can be of the same length as this B, this vector B, and then the horizontal line that you have drawn here on the bottom or on the top, it is the same magnitude as A. Because remember that in a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal. That's going to be very important when you do the calculations later on. So now here we've got a green vector there, we've got a blue vector there. So which method do you think we can apply here? Can we apply the parallelogram law, or can we apply the triangle law? In this case, we can see that both the vectors, the green one and the blue one, they are starting at the same point, or they are acting concurrently on an object. So we have to apply the parallelogram law of forces. Basically, on the end of this green vector, you draw a dotted line that is parallel to that blue vector. And then at the end of the blue vector, you draw a dotted line that is parallel to the green vector, something like this. And then where they meet, you draw a dot where they meet. So now your resultant vector will basically going to move from the tail of both the vectors and go straight to the head, to where these two dots meet. So this is your resultant. This is your resultant vector. If you look at another case whereby we have the same green vector and this blue vector, you can see now that they are following each other. They are following each other. So now we can apply the triangle law then, or the tail to head method. So applying the triangle law or the tail to head method in this case, you can see that these are following each other. We start with the blue vector and the green vector follows after the blue vector. You can see that here where this blue vector ends at this point, the green vector continues. So now remember that when you are doing the tail to head method, you move from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector. In this case, this is the tail of the first vector. This is the tail of the first vector. And then the head of the last vector, it is this one. This is the head of the last vector. So now you draw your resultant. It will be something like this. Here is your resultant vector. Resultant vector. So do you see that this triangle law, it just basically forms a triangle. The parallelogram law basically forms a parallelogram. Hence we have given them these names with my old brothers, they're scientists. So basically that's how they work. That's how you that's how you draw the vectors that have been combined. But now let us say that A here is given by a magnitude of 3 and B is given by a magnitude of 2. Let us say that the same is the case here, 3 and then this is 2. You cannot say that the resultant will be 3 plus 2. No, you are forbidden to do that. You cannot say the resultant is 3 plus 2. Even in this case, let's say this is 4 and then this is 5. You cannot say the resultant is 4 plus 5. It is because we've got certain vector algebra laws that we use to add vectors. So now, to add vectors, first of all, the sum of two vectors A plus B is given by the x component of A plus the x component of B, and then given by the y component of A plus the y component of B. Same thing for subtraction, and that we multiply by a scalar multiple. So these are the basic laws of vector algebra. So now, how does this work? Because this looks kind of confusing. Let us take this blue vector, for example. This blue vector, this one here, let's say this is vector PQ. Vector PQ is given by the components. Let's just see, this is going to be 4 minus 1. So the components here is 3 is 2. This is going to be 3 is to 3. So this is a vector PQ given by the components 3 is to 3. And then this is another vector. Let's say this is a vector AB. This is a vector AB given by the components. Let's just see the components here. This is from 3 to 1. The components 2 is 2. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now I've made a video on how to find the components of a vector. If you've got a vector that is not positioned at the origin, please check that video out. The link is in the description. So basically here, you've got two vectors. You've got vector PQ, and it is given by the components 3 is to 3. And you've got vector AB, and it is given by the components 2 is to 3. So we're just going to put an arrow on top to represent that these are vectors. So now let's say we want to add these two vectors. Number one, we want to find the sum of vector PQ. We want to find the sum of vector PQ and vector AB. So to add two vectors, basically you have to add their components, their corresponding components. In this case, you've got 3 as the x component of PQ, and you've got 2 as the x component of AB. So let's just say this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. So to add two vectors, to find the resultant when you add two vectors, this will be 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2, they will just give you 5. So we're going to write here 3 plus 2. And then now you also add the y components as well. You add 3, you add 3. So 3 plus 3, this will be 3 plus 3. So the resultant of vector PQ plus vector AB, it is actually given by 3 plus 2, which is 5, and then 3 plus 3, which is 6. So these are the components of the resultant vector. So the resultant vector, remember, it is a vector itself, so it must be expressed in terms of its components. So this is the x component of the resultant vector. This is the x component of the resultant vector. This is the y component of the resultant vector. So if you want to plot your resultant vector, in this case, you can see that your vectors are concurrent. Okay, they are following each other. They are in a sequence. You can see that here the red vector starts and then the blue vector follows. So to draw the resultant here, basically, we have to employ them. We have to employ the tail to head method. Remember that when vectors are acting in a sequence or they are following each other, you have to use the tail to head method or the triangle law. So in the triangle law, basically, you have to plot your resultant vector from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector. From the tail of the first vector to the head of that last vector. So this vector, this will be your resultant. So you can just say your resultant here, it will be given by components 5 is to 6. So you can do further combinations here and try to do the difference between two vectors. If you say vector PQ minus vector AB, what are you going to find? Vector PQ minus vector AB. So PQ minus AB, you have basically to use the components that are corresponding to one another. In this case, you say the x component of PQ, it is 3, minus the x component of AB, it is 2. So this is 3 minus 2. Don't say the opposite. Don't say 2 minus 3. It's 3 minus 2 because we are saying PQ minus AB. So in this case, this is 3 minus 2. And then here, the y components, this is y1, this is y2. So you have to say that PQ, the y value for PQ here, it is 3, minus the y value for AB, it is 3. So now if you say PQ minus AB, the resultant that you get here of PQ, vector PQ minus vector AB, will be equals to 3 minus 2 will be just 1, 3 minus 3 will be 0. So this is the resultant that you get when you when you subtract the vectors. So this is the x value of the resultant that you get, and then this is the y value of the resultant. Don't neglect the 0. It is also a value that is there. And then what if you multiply with a scalar? When you multiply with a number here, we say this is known as a scalar multiplication. So scalar multiplication, you basically multiplying with a certain number. You're basically multiplying with a certain number. So this is 2a is equals to 2ax, 2ay. So for example, if I want to multiply the vector pq, if I say I want to find 2pq, I want to find what would my vector change to if I multiply it by 2. I would just have to multiply its component by 2. I have to multiply the x component by 2, and I have to multiply the y component by 2 as well. So vector 2pq there will be given by what? Will be given by 2 times the x component of pq, in this case it is 3, and the y component it is also 3. So if I multiply this vector by 2, I'll get 2pq is equals to 2 times 3 is 6, and the same here is 6. So basically when you multiply a vector by a certain scalar or by a number, basically we say it's scalar multiplication. You multiply it by a number, you just multiply each component. If I say I want to find 2ab, I want to find 2ab. I know that the vector ab is given by 2 is to 3. Vector ab is given by the components 2 is to 3. So to find 2ab, I have to just multiply those components by 2. In this case, this will be 2 times the x component here is 2, and then this will be 2 times the y component is 3. So here 2ab will now be given by 2 times 2 there will be 4, and then 2 times 3 will be 6. So here I've multiplied my vector by a certain scalar. A scalar is just a number in this context. So basically that's how you combine the vectors. Let us look at this exercise 2. In the diagram below you are given 3 vectors. Vector A given by 2 is to 4 is to 3. Vector B given by 0 is to 2 is to 7. Determine the following vectors. You want negative A. So when you see negative A here, what have you done to your vector? You have basically multiplied by negative 1. So this is actually negative 1 times vector A. So to solve for, let's just make the solutions there. To find the solutions there for negative 1 times A, you basically have to multiply each and every component of A by negative 1. So this is supposed to be small letter a, small letter b. So the components of A in this case are given by 2, 4, 3. This is the x component, this is the y component, this is the z component. So negative 1 times A, in this case negative 1 times A, you have to multiply each component by negative 1. In this case you're going to get negative 1 times the x component is 2, then negative 1 times the y component is 4, then negative 1 times the z component is 3. So negative A, vector negative A will be given by negative 2 is to negative 4 is to negative 3. So basically that's a scalar multiplication. You basically multiply with a certain scalar multiple. Okay, so this is negative 1 times A. Now they say find 2A plus B. So find 2A plus B. To find 2A plus B, you can see now that here we have got 2 times A, we have got 2 times A plus B. So here you have to multiply A by 2 first. Remember, BODMAS says you have to multiply first before you can add things. So you have to first find what is 2A. Basically, to find 2A, you have to just multiply each and every component of A by 2. In this case, A is given by 2 is to 4 is to 3. Those are the components of A. So you multiply 2, the x component, by 2, and then you multiply 4, the y component, by 2, and then you multiply 3, the z component, by 2. You multiply it by 2. This is scalar multiplication. Then you are adding this to B. In this case, B is given by 0 is to 2 is to 7. Those are the components. If you simplify this, you're going to get that 2 times 2 there will give you 4, and then 2 times 4 will give you 8. 2 times 3 will then give you 6. Then plus B is given by 0 to 7. So in this case now you are adding two vectors. The first vector is 2a. This is the first vector, which is 2a. These are its components. And then this is the second vector, which is positive b. These are its components. So to add this, you have to say 4 here, the x component, plus 0. Remember that when you're adding vectors, the law says that when you are adding two vectors, you add their components, their corresponding components. So you add their x components together, you add their y components together. Similarly here, that's what you're doing. You're going to add here 4 plus 0. So this will be 4. And then now you go to the y. The y values of the first part is 8. The next one is 2. So 8 plus 2 will give you positive 10. And then here the z values, which is the third value of the coordinate, here is 6. And then here is 7. So 6 plus 7 will give you 13. So this will give you 13. So this is 2a plus b. So this is your resultant, or the combination of 2a plus b. First, you have multiplied a by 2 by multiplying each and every component by 2. Then you have added with b. And then now you get 2a plus b. Now I'll leave you to draw this up, a plus b. But basically it's very simple. You can see that here you want to draw the resultant, a plus b. Remember that when you're doing the resultant, you either use a parallelogram method or the tail or the triangle law. So basically here you can see that these are your vectors. I've plotted them for you so that it becomes easier for you to see. These are your vectors. In this case, the vector given by 0 to 7 is this one. This is your vector b, and then this is your vector a. So now if you want to do them, if you want to do the resultant, these vectors are starting at the same point. You can see that they're at the same point here on this Cartesian plane. So since they're at the same point, you have to apply the parallelogram law. So to apply the parallelogram law, remember, you do what? You go here at the end of this arrow, and then you draw a vector. Try your best to draw a vector that is parallel to this green vector. And then you go at the end of this green vector, try to draw a vector that is parallel to this red one. And where these two lines meet, that's where your resultant is going. So they meet here. So your resultant is to move from both the tails and go straight there. Here it is. So this is a plus b. That's the resultant, a plus b. A plus b. And to calculate its components, you just have to add the components. Basically, to find a plus b, if they say, what are the components of this vector? This vector a plus b, the components, you have just to add the x value of a, which is 2 in this case, plus 0, you get 2. You add the y value of a plus the y value of b, you get 6. This is 4 plus 2. And then you add the z value of a and the z value of b, which is 7. 3 plus 7 is 10. So basically, these are your components for the resultant vector, and this is how you draw it using the parallelogram method. In this case, we've used the parallelogram method, reason being your vectors are starting at a common point. This is vector a, this is vector b. they are starting at a common point, so their resultant has to be computed using the parallelogram method, whereby you complete a parallelogram or you draw a box, and then your resultant will move from both the tails and move straight to where this dotted line meets. So this is how you get to it. And then now, what is the magnitude? The last question says calculate the magnitude of A plus B. Now they want the size of the resultant, because here we have been able to write the resultant in form of its components and say that the resultant vector is given by A plus B and the components are 2, 6, and 10. So now to find its magnitude, remember I have to just employ the Pythagoras theorem. So the magnitude of vector A plus B, or the magnitude of this resultant vector, will just have to be the square root of 2 squared, the x component of the resultant vector, plus 6 squared, the y component, and then plus 10 squared, the z component. So that will give you absolute value of A plus B, which is the magnitude of this resultant vector, will be the square root of 2 squared will be 4, plus 6 squared is 36, and then this is plus 10 squared is going to give you 100. So basically the magnitude of A plus B there will be the square root of 36 plus 4 will be 40, plus 100, that's going to be 140. So this will be the square root of 140 units. That is the size of this resultant. You will then use your calculator to simplify it. But basically this is how you do vector algebra. This is how you combine different vectors. Do not just add the magnitudes. For example, if I say that this is a vector A given by 1 and this is a vector B given by 2, then their resultant here will be given by 3. This is not correct. You have to add their components respectively. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to stay tuned.